This shirt is as Texas can get.
Is that hat Texas too?
Yeah. And so is the pile of fucking liquor right next to me.
Oh, damn. Look at that.
Dude, we are Texasing it up on this episode right now. And for those of you that are already watching, why I've got a bunch of notes and paper in my hand is because this is a long story. It's a story about Texas. It's a story about moonshine. Everybody wanted history. So
I want you to educate me.
Oh, I'm going to give you some education. So first and foremost, you said this shirt. What did you say about the shirt? I'm about to fuck you up, dude.
I said, is that shirt Texas?
Oh, you said, is it? Okay.
Yeah. I didn't say it's not Texas.
Okay. But yes, it is. It is Texas. So the come and take it flag, if you guys have all seen it, you guys are, a lot of people have seen the whole come and take it. There's a cannon and a star, and it says come and take it underneath it. It was the flag of Gonzales. And the Santa Ana was coming into Texas to take all the guns away and take all the cannons away. And Gonzales flew this flag. It's like, come on, motherfucker, come and take it. Come and take our cannon. That's right. They packed up the cannon. They carted the cannon away. Eventually, whenever the Mexican army came in to try to take it, and Mexican army never got this cannon. So that's where the flag comes from. And it's been a rally cry in Second Amendment groups and things like that. So, but you can research the Gonzales flag. This podcast is not about this flag. It's about a different piece of Texas history. So
what liquor do you have besides you from Texas? I have to know this starting out.
All right. The liquor I have next to me. Now, I may not drink all this. Okay. And actually, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm probably not going to drink any of it. I just put it up here to showcase because, I need to move mine to the back. I have a bottle of my bourbon.
That's about how much I have left.
Not much. I have a bottle of Prohibition 1920s mango. I have a bottle of Sherpa Shantox wheat barley rye. I have a bottle of Piney Woods Shine coconut aged.
Oh
is right.
You're going to have to try that one.
Dude. Yeah, I have. It's delicious. I have a jar of Jason the DD's apple pie. And I have a jar of Texas Papa's coffee. Guys, this is a Texas episode. It's Texas history. It's Texas moonshine history. People wanted to know some moonshine history, and I was going to give it to them from a totally different point of view because people think that moonshine is strictly to the hills of Appalachia, and I am here to tell you it is not. It's a little cliche that I'm wearing all this, and I got a bunch of Texas shit up behind me. But, hey, we're going to represent.
I mean, it looks like you're trying to overcompensate.
Well, maybe a little bit.
Moonshine history, but you're going to prove me wrong, I feel like.
You know what? It's a good story. All right. I'm not even sure if I need these. I've done read the story so damn much. So there's this. Let's get right into it. There's this book I found. You know what? Fuck that. Hold up. What's in your glass?
I'm drinking.
Back up.
Yeah, I'm drinking store-bought again because I had to put the jars away. So it's store-bought and Coke. VOB and Coke.
VOB and Coke. Okay.
I'm not over here representing Texas with all this awesome looking liquor. And I wish you guys that are listening in could see this on the video because that coconut looks amazing.
Dude, I'm telling you what, he was here and he dropped it off. And hopefully you get to meet him when you get into town because he's an awesome guy. And he makes great fucking liquor. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to take a sip of his coconut right now.
Yeah, shit. I knew you was going to crack it.
Guys, this is going to buckle up because this might be a little bit of a longer episode than what we normally put out. But yeah.
Grab you a drink with us and unless you're driving to work or something.
Coconut off the nose. It smells like coconut rum. It really does. But it's dark like it looks like a whiskey. Oh my God. It
looks awesome.
Do you like coconut?
Absolutely. I do. I like coconut and drinks.
Okay, because this is excellent. It's like coconut whiskey, though. It's not like coconut rum. It's coconut. It's like coconut whiskey, which is you would think doesn't work, but I swear to God. And in this bottle, this stubby little bottle that's short and fat and wide, and I mean it just absolutely works. So, oh, it's
That's
a
awesome.
it's a third gen sour mash, and it was made also with coconut sugar, 5 weeks aged on wood, 100 proof.
Coconut sugar. Huh.
Coconut sugar and coconut. I think he's got to use a coconut flavor in it. There ain't no way he getting that level of coconut just out of the sugar. But this is Piney Wood Shine on TikTok, guys. Not one of the more known guys on there on the socials, but like, dude, he I swear to God, he's doing some excellent stuff. Phenomenal shit. As far as what I'm gonna drink through this episode, I've got some Pepsi Zero and good old Sherpa wheat barley rye.
There you go. You know, I should have broke out your wheat whiskey is what I should have done. Should have broke out some wheat whiskey, but
You still can.
no, I already got my drink fixed. We're good. Go ahead.
Got it fixed. Okay.
School me.
So here we are, guys. I picked up this book and it's called the Glenrose Moonshine Raid. So for those of you guys that are watching, here is the cover of the book. For those of you guys that are listening, it's called the Glenrose Moonshine Raid by Martin Brown. Now, a little backstory. Martin Brown is a Dallas police officer, retired. I think he wanted to be a rider prior to going the police force, but ended up on the police force anyway. Liked it, stayed there, did his time, ended up retiring and moving to the small town of Glenrose, Texas, which is just south of Fort Worth. And if you know the geography, Fort Worth and Dallas are only about 30 miles apart. We're right next to each other. It's called the Metroplex up here in North Texas. And then just south of Fort Worth, about 40 minutes or so, is Glenrose, Texas, in a small county called Somerville. Now, Somerville County, guys, is sandwiched in between Johnson County and I believe Hood County. I could be wrong on that one, but there's two counties, neighboring counties next to it. It's kind of important, comes into the story, played into the story a little bit. Now, in 1919, you had Prohibition was starting to come into full swing. The U.S. Enacted the Volstead Act. The Volstead Act was punishable on any kind of liquor offenses to 1 year in jail, $1,000 fine. Okay. Now, that same year, we had a governor, and his name was Pat Neff. Governor Pat Neff is a super conservative Southern Baptist guy. There are stories that he didn't even have a first dance at his wedding with his wife because they didn't believe in dancing.
Oh man, didn't even believe in dancing.
Didn't even believe in dancing. That's how straight laced this guy was. I mean,
So
straight as an arrow.
For just a second, because that's interesting. Because there is a community center that was actually donated by my family in the community that I live in, and one of the things in the bylaws is that there can be no dancing at that facility.
Really?
So that's odd. I guess it was that time period, and I'd have to go and look and see when all that took place. But I bet that's around that same era.
Yeah, I would imagine so, because that that mindset is definitely a super ultra conservative mindset.
Yeah.
Now, when Prohibition hit, Pat Neff was all for it. Pat Neff was anti-alcohol, anti-dancing, all that fun stuff. So he enacted and helped push forward what we call in Texas the Dean Act. Now, the Dean Act was even more strict in the state of Texas than the Volstead Act was on the federal level. We had a punishment of 5 years instead of 1 year in prison. The Dean Act was heavy. I mean,
what was the Volstead Act?
The Volstead Act was what they enacted on the federal level that kind of led to Prohibition to
okay. Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? It's the federal version. Stuff's illegal federally, but you had a whole bunch of other states follow suit, and then we were one that our state laws were harsher than even the federal level. Everything's bigger in Texas, even the punishments. I mean, it's brutal.
That's brutal. Weird. You don't think that out of Texas either. You would think the punishment would be less. Just in Texas's reputation, right?
I think their reputation today, yeah. But you got to, I mean, think about the time and the place that things were. I mean, we've always been a conservative state, you know.
Yeah, that's true. I never thought of it like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, and when you think of conservative Southern Baptist, I mean, that is going to carry heavy. So, so there, all that stuff comes into play a little bit later um, in this story. Now, there was a guy who his name was Dick Watson. Now, Dick Watson um, was a man who was a little on the fringe, the outside of the law. He went in the military. They called him a deserter because he left the military early. He did serve in World War One. Came home and then went back to Texas. And then since he kind of had this deserter title because he got tired of the military and left, he was labeled a deserter. There was warrants out for him, so he was outside of the law. And he went to work in the oil patch out in West Texas. Now, West Texas, obviously is known for the oil, but you can pretty well get lost out there, And he went to work out there with his brother. Took the middle name of his brother, changed his name, and then went to work out there and did all that stuff. Right now, he is from the same area that Somerville County is at, and Glenrose, the city, is at. So he had ties back to those cities, and he met some people that were running liquor out there. Now, the people that he met were the sons of a very prominent doctor in the town. And this doctor was pretty much running the moonshine show when it came to Somerville County and Glenrose City.
So who's got the money to pay off people, right?
Exactly where I'm going with this. So this doctor
called it.
This doctor pretty much was in charge of the entire operation. And this doctor was paying off the sheriff and the county prosecutor. He said, well, we're going to run liquor in this town, and in order to not get caught, we're going to pay off the sheriff. We're also going to pay off the county prosecutor so nobody gets hemmed up and gets even taken to court. Now, back up a little bit. The reason he was doing all this is because the town was in dire straits, right? They were just on the heels of a really bad insect infestation called the boll weevil. And the boll weevil decimated cotton crops in the state that year in 1919. Okay. So like all of the revenue that the city and the county and all the surrounding areas were normally used to seeing from cotton crops was just gone. So all these farmers are like, well, we don't have crops and we can't feed our family. And, this doctor says, hey, there's a market for liquor. Let's just make liquor. Who cares?
Yeah. At that point, what are you going to do? Right.
Exactly.
Resort to what you can.
You see your friends and family suffering. You're like, hey, we're going to all band together and, it'll be a family affair. It'll be a city thing. And they started running liquor to neighboring counties and out into the oil patch. So now they got this guy that's connected with the oil patch who's running liquor out there, Dick Watson. And Dick Watson knows his doctor's sons, and the doctor's sons are two of the most prominent still runners or still operators in the area. One of the sons gives Dick Watson a half interest stake in the still operation. So he says, hey, come work here. You take half the profits, run all my liquor out to the oil patch and run it to Fort Worth and run it to Dallas because they're close cities. And let's make some money and we'll just break it even half and half. He said, okay. And next thing you know, Dick Watson's running all this liquor all around the state of Texas, but he's also running the cash payments to pay off the sheriff and the county prosecutor. He's the one handling the money, cruising over and go, hey, buddy, here's your cut. Make sure nobody gets arrested.
Small town politics, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Neighboring counties, Johnson and Hood County, are not with this. They have sheriffs that are anti-alcohol, anti-liquor, and they're for the prohibition efforts. They're in it. Now, just south of us, the railroad comes in. I believe it's Hood County. It comes into Hood County, and what happens is the sheriff there catches a funny shipment coming in from Dallas. A big shipment of sugar, as well as that all copper moonshine still that was made from coppersmiths out in Dallas.
That'll do it.
So it puts Somerville on the radar of, hey, these people are ordering a ton of sugar, a ton of jelly jars, and a moonshine still that's sitting there, right? On the back of this train. So he confiscated the moonshine still, the jars, the sugar, the whole 9 yards, the whole shebang, right? But didn't have really anybody. It was sent to a store, so it didn't really have anybody connected to yet. But it's on the radar, right? The sheriff and the mayor of that, those towns all get a hold of Pat Neff, who's ultra conservative. Said, "Hey, man, something funny's going on in this town. Pretty sure they're running liquor." Okay, and then Dick Watson is out running liquor to the counties north of him too. And it's starting to cause issues. The county sheriff just north of them in Johnson County says, "Hey, we got all this liquor running into this county. We know it's coming out of Somerville because, look, it's Somerville because we already talked to the other neighboring counties. We know that they got moonshine stills getting dropped off there. We know we got sugar getting there. We know we got jelly jars that are jam jars that are getting dropped off there. It's coming out of Somerville. It's coming out of Glenrose."
And meanwhile, just one sheriff's paid off, right?
Yep. The sheriff of the county it's coming out of is paid off. The other counties surrounding it are not, and they're for the prohibition efforts. They're ultra conservative, Southern Baptist. They're law abiding. So what happens is the sheriff in the neighboring county, North Johnson County, says, "Hey, tells his deputies, you pull over any car coming out of that county and search them." Old Dick Watson's running liquor up in Johnson County and gets pulled over, and in a brand new Model T Ford that he's driving.
Oh, man.
A brand new Model T Ford that was provided to him by the doctor's son, who was the other half owner of the still operation he was involved in. Okay.
Not the Model T.
Not the Model T, dude. Pulled over. It's got liquor. They confiscate the liquor and they confiscate the car. It's done. Okay. So while he's sitting in jail, apparently Dick Watson, this bootlegger, moonshiner, knew that sheriff, grew up with him. The sheriff knew him, and the sheriff was trying to get him out of trouble. Okay. So the sheriff knew that there was a group of people called the Anti-Saloon League, which is on the federal level based to help the prohibition efforts. And the Anti-Saloon League was paying informants to rat on other bootleggers and moonshiners and said, "Hey, we will not throw you in jail if you rat everyone out and just throw everyone under the bus."
Stuff that still goes on today with some other
Absolutely, it still goes
money
on
talks and freedom talks too, right?
Yes, it does. If you're hemmed up and you're facing the Volstead Act, which is actually he was in Texas, so it's not even just the Volstead Act. He's facing in Texas. He's facing 4 or 5 years because it's the Dean Act in Texas because we got a little bit harsher punishment, right? So he's like, "Well, I can go to prison for 5 years or 4 years, and this is going to suck, or I can just roll over and just give everyone up, and then I keep my nose clean." So he chooses the latter. He keeps his nose clean, and he pretty much says, "Yep, I'll become an informant." Now, Pat Neff is pretty pissed at this point. The governor, Pat Neff, ultra conservative. I don't dance at weddings, dude. So he sends the Texas Rangers into the area, try to sniff out what's going on. And at the same time, old Dick Watson gets hemmed up. Now, Dick Watson's getting paid for by the Anti-Saloon League, but he's working underneath the Texas Rangers. And there's one prominent Texas Ranger that's pretty much spearheading the whole operation of sniffing out these bootleggers and these moonshiners. His name is Red.
I was going to guess Walker.
Walker, Texas Ranger. Jesus Christ. Well, I need a drink.
I had to, man. It was like right there. It was on the tip of my tongue.
So, yeah. So old Red, old Red, like it's a dog. Not his name is Red. He's a Texas Ranger, tall guy, comes in, pretty much takes Dick Watson under his wing and says, "We're going to sniff this out. We're going to find out where everybody's at." He's like, "You have already all the information." Dick Watson knew where everyone was at, knew where all the stills were at, knew everybody involved, knew who was getting paid off, and just rolls. He said, "This sheriff, this county prosecutor, these other prominent businessmen are involved, and all these people are here, and here it is."
Sings like a canary.
Just sings a song, and that's it, right? Now, in Texas at the time, you could not indict or charge somebody with a crime on a witness who was involved in the crime. So if the witness was involved in it, that witness was null and void, right? So they needed another person to come in and look at what was going on and be able to take the stand and say, "Hey, yeah, I saw this." Well, Dick Watson's brother worked out in the oil patch, and he pretty much says, "Hey, this anti-saloon league is paying me to be a witness. They'll pay you too." So he brings his brother in on this. Now, his brother had nothing to do with none of this nefarious actions, none of the bootlegging, none of the moonshining. He just worked as an oil guy out there in West Texas. Well, he brings him in, and then, Dick Watson's so well known around camp that, they let him bring whoever he wants. So he brought, "Oh, well, I'm bringing my brother." So he brings his brother in. His brother sees it and was like, "Yep, that's moonshine still," and doesn't have anything to do it, doesn't move any liquor, just sees it, sees what's going on. And then now they have the witness that they need extra on the stand to charge everyone involved.
Jeez.
Right? So all the pieces of the puzzle are there. It's just time to put it all together. So Governor Patton F. instructs old Texas Ranger Red to come in and just clean house. And Texas Ranger Red and calls up all of his Texas Rangers buddies and all of the other neighboring county sheriffs that are upset that all this liquor is getting run to them and all the other towns, and brings in all these law enforcement officers, and they just roll into town and just start cleaning house. And the first place they stop is the sheriff's house of Somerville County. They roll right into the sheriff's office and arrest him in his office and put him in his own jail. Lock him up. Right?
That's like some Dukes of Hazzard stuff right there.
It's brutal.
Boss hog.
Just roll in, hook him up, go. You can go ahead and stop sitting behind this desk and start sitting behind them bars.
The same jail that you've been throwing everybody in?
Exact. Well, not throwing anybody in because he's been taking the bribes.
Well, yeah, but other crime stuff. But yeah,
he's been taking the bribes that Dick Watson has been hanging on to and handing off to him. So it's pretty brutal. Second person they arrest is the old county prosecutor. It's done. They're just rolling down the list. And then they head for the hills and they start cleaning up all the still sites. Okay. Arresting people in the hills and bringing those stills out of the hills. And what I mean by hills, guys, is I don't really mean like Appalachian hills. In Texas, we have a lot of different terrain, right? Out west, it's flat, desert, oil patch. Down south, coastal waters. We got the Gulf Coast. Central Texas is hilly. East Texas is piney woods, right?
Yeah. See, I was one of those that had the idea that Texas was flat and dry.
Yeah, and it is. In certain parts, it's flat and dry, but it ain't like that everywhere else. We have a ton of different terrain. We have a mountain range down towards Mexico called the Chisos Mountains. Very tall. They've gotten snow there. I mean, it's so tall. The Panhandle gets snow every year. The Central Texas floods. I mean, South Texas floods, Houston area floods, but we got tall pine trees out east. I mean, we're one of the few states that's got almost every geographical kind of like type going on inside of it. Now, they may be 10, 12 hours away from each other because the state is so damn big that you can drive literally 10 hours across it and not ever leave the state. But we have almost every kind of geographical type within our state. And in those geographic in those hills that are in Somervell County are limestone streams. So they're perfect for making whiskey. So a lot of people think that limestone is only to the hills of Tennessee and Kentucky and West Virginia, and there are limestone streams in the state of Texas.
Yeah, see, I've never done that either.
Yeah. And that's where they made their whiskey at, right? Because it was perfect for that. We've got a lot of mesquite that burns hot. So to have a really nice, hot, long burning fire, we've got the trees that we can cut to burn it, because the mesquite burns hotter than, say, normal oak or pine does. So all sorts of stuff there. Anyway, so back to what I was saying about how the Texas Rangers are in there cleaning up, and it literally sent these moonshiners running for the hills, right? So they're pulling now. They're arresting these moonshiners. They're pulling them out of these hills. They're grabbing up their stills, and they're bringing their stills out of the hills and putting them on the jailhouse lawn, in the courthouse lawn. They're just piling up their stills. They're piling up their sugar, their mash barrels. They're hooking these guys up, and they're throwing them all into jail.
I bet that lawn is packed.
It's unbelievably packed. Guys, in this book, you can see the photos that they took. The Glenrose Moonshine Raid, you can see that the photos they took of the front lawn just being completely covered in moonshine stills and distilling equipment from the 1919, 1920s, that era. And they've hooked everyone up, and the jail was so small that they had to cart everyone down to Waco, Texas. So, because the Waco had a bigger jail. So as they're leaving town, they do this big old caravan. They've got everybody arrested. They're pulling them all down there. There's one guy that's on the side of the road, and there's all these people that have lined up to watch what's going on.
Oh yeah, that area, it's kind of like public hangings and all that stuff.
Absolutely. I mean,
it's a big show.
You want to see what's going on. Yeah. So all the women, other women, the children that are all involved, that weren't involved, all come out to see their neighbors and their uncles, their dads, their brothers, their cousins hooked up and going out of jail. They're all standing there waving bye, have a good, I mean, you're going to jail. It is what it is. So, And as the caravan's going down the road, old Dick Watson looks out the window and says, "Hey, Red, that guy right there is on the list of the guys we need to arrest." They stop the caravan, get out, grab him, they throw him in the caravan and take him too. Geez. He should have stayed in the hills. Yeah,
wrong place, wrong time.
Dude, don't come out and watch it. Just stay there.
Why would you come out and watch all your buddies that are running shine go down the parade to the jail?
It's over with. Yeah, he was on the list, man. They hooked him up. So now they're all down in Waco, Texas. Everybody's arrested, and the whole legal aspect of everything starts about trying to get everybody prosecuted. Now they're all in jail, and a couple days passes, maybe a week or so, and then they all post bail. Every single one of them. And nice. the reason they can all post bail is because they all got friends in high places.
Yeah.
So they know the doctor,
right? Yeah.
They know the doctor. Well, the doctor knows all the other prominent businessmen in town. And one of those prominent businessmen is the owner of First National Bank of Glenrose. The owner of the fucking bank is the doctor's best friend. And he goes, "I'll bail them all out." Nice. Bails 50-something guys out of jail, right? So they've arrested like 50-something dudes. They're all bailed out now. So they're all out free on bond. Governor Pat Neff is pissed. This ultra-conservative, I don't dance at funerals dude is madder than hell. He's like, these guys are going to get away with a slap on their wrist. They've already posted bail. The Volstead Act is 1 year in prison. Like, these guys are just all going to get away with it, Yep. So he's like, to hell with it. We're going to charge them all on the Dean Act, the Texas law The everything's bigger in Texas, you're going to go to jail for longer law.
Uh-oh.
So he's pissed as fuck.
I don't like this governor, just so you know.
I'm not a fan of him either. I'm not a fan of him either. But
normally I love Texas governors.
You would think this one he was a doozy. So it comes down, he starts charging people. And the first person, some guys take plea deals, some guys don't, some guys go to trial, some guys don't, whatever. But the first trial to happen is the sheriff. They hook the sheriff up first. They throw the sheriff through the trial process first, and he says, I'm not guilty, whatever. Goes to trial, jury deliberates, finds him guilty, and sends him to state prison. I was going to say federal, but it sends him to state prison for 4 years.
Yeah, on the state charge, right?
On the state charges instead of the federal charges. They don't charge them on federal, they charge them on state because the state's got heavier charges. So now everybody else is like, oh shit, man, a lot of these guys now are singing a different tune, and they're starting to say, hey, I'm guilty, whatever. They want to do plea deals, plea it down. They don't want to go for 4 years, so they start going for 2 years, 3 years, 1 year, whatever. And they plea it all down. The very last person to come up on the docket is the county prosecutor, who's like, I'm not guilty and we're going to trial. Fuck y'all.
Oh yeah, he knows the system, right?
He knows it. Yeah. He's like, I'm gonna take my chances. And on top of him knowing the system, he has all these high-powered lawyer friends. So I mean, he's a lawyer himself. He calls upon his other lawyer buddies. You're gonna represent me. Of course, man, we're gonna represent you. Let's go to trial. We'll beat this. So they go to trial on him. Meanwhile, judges in jail, all the other people in jail. By the time he comes in, some people have been put in jail and even let go. So there's some things there that have happened. Now, county prosecutor's up for trial, and he tries to talk about how Dick Watson deserted the military and was like, this guy's a witness. This is the guy. This is who you want to take his word over mine. He deserted the military. He ran liquor in Johnson and Hood County. He gave me money. I don't know what he said, but like, he was like,
broke out them skeletons.
You know what I'm saying? He was out there running liquor, and that's the dude you want to take his word for. So it was actually a good case. So as the jury comes out and deliberates, old Red is there, Dick Watson is there, county prosecutor's there for all this. And what happens is the jury's out deliberating. They say, we're going to need another day. And everybody goes home for the evening. Well, when they go home for the evening, Dick Watson and Red are staying in a boarding house in Glenrose, Texas. Okay. Now, when they get out of the trial and they go to the boarding house owner is a woman who makes them a supper and then says, hey, I'll make you your supper. You just got to take me to a church meeting after this. And then old Dick Watson has a car. So he said, yeah, I'll take you to a church meeting. So he loads boarding house owner up into the car, and he loads old Dick Watson, who wants to go visit his friend on down the road too, into the car. So Red drives this lady to her church meeting, drives Dick Watson to his friend's house, and then he goes back and parks the car at a garage that's right down the road, and he's walking back to the boarding house. Now, when he's walking back to the boarding house, he's passing a bunch of houses, and he's called up to the porch of a house by one of his friends, who happens to be a doctor as well in the town. Says, hey, this doctor calls him up. Not the same doctor that's running shit, but just another doctor in the town.
I got you.
So this doctor says, hey, you're being followed, and they want to kill you. They're after you. The bootleggers and moonshiners are pissed, and they're not having it, and you're on their hit list. Old Red says, I know. I seen him. I know who it is. I looked him dead in the eye. I ain't scared. Come on.
Geez.
I mean, Red is a Texas Ranger. He's not scared of shit. I mean, he's a tough guy, you know. So they're sitting there talking about this, going, I don't care, you know, bring it, you know. And then as they're doing that, they hear a gunshot, boom, ring out. And old Red, it was like, oh shit, and knows that it came from the house that he dropped Dick Watson off at.
Uh-oh.
So he runs over to that house, okay, where Dick Watson is hanging out with his friend. And Dick Watson is dead inside the home with a buckshot to his face.
They kind of need him, don't they?
They do. For the prosecution of everybody. Yeah. But Dick Watson's now dead. It wasn't by his friends that he went to visit. It was some guys that were stalking him that were hanging out outside the house. And as Dick Watson stood up to leave for the night and walked back to the hotel or the boarding house, as he stood up and was putting on his coat, they shot him in the face with a buckshot. There are reports at the crime scene that these two guys were hanging outside of a window. They were so quiet, you couldn't see them outside the screen of the window. And the windows were up because it's Texas 1990. It's not going to have air conditioning. So the windows are up, letting the breeze come in. And they shot him through the screen window. Now, the hole in the window or in the screen was so small that they said that the shotgun was right up next to the screen.
Yeah, the pattern was so tight. Yeah.
Exactly. The pattern was so tight that the shotgun was right up next to the screen. And it just, you know, decreased the distance they had to shoot him at. All right.
Yeah.
So old Red is there. He's looking for clues and looking for this, looking for that, and then finds out that these two guys snuck up on to the house, but they had drove a car down the bank of a river. So there was tracks. I mean, he had enough evidence. He was like, this is what they were driving. They were driving this car. He could see two sets of footprints and all this stuff, right? So Red gets a tip from a ex-con. An ex-con comes forward and says, hey, I was approached by some high-profile businessmen out of Somervell County, Glenrose, to not only kill you, but to kill Dick Watson, the rat. Okay.
Oh, damn. So it was a hit job.
It was a fucking hit job. A hit job. I mean, there's money involved. There's high-profile business guys going, we need to go ahead and take care of this dude. We need to stop this. People are getting indicted. Like, we're done. People are going to jail. We're finished with this.
Yeah.
So, and you know, old Red says, who was it? And he goes, well, it was a doctor, and it was the owner of the First National Bank of Glenrose, Texas.
How about that?
Gangster shit. These are dudes. These are guys that run banks. This is like mafia shit, right?
Oh yeah.
Like mafia boss. Like, I got the money. Like, I'll fix this. Money will fix this. Like, this is like Chicago Al Capone shit.
Well, think
going
about it.
on.
At that time, what's the most important things to have too? Or the most important people is your banker and your doctor.
Yes.
Can't live without money. Can't live without a doctor.
These guys run the show in the town, right? They're the Al Capones of the town, you know? And dude, he was like, I don't want okay. So this ex-con now is like, I don't want to be charged with this shit. So I'm gonna tell you what I know, what I heard, and what was approached with me, and to hell with it. I'm not getting hemmed up. So he rolls. Now, old Red has enough evidence to go on, and he finds out that the two people that were involved in this shooting are the doctor's sons. The two guys, one of which gave Dick Watson that half interest in the still side. He said, I'll pay you half. You run all this liquor, you pay off these people, you do all this, I'll give you half of our proceeds. Right? One of them is that guy. All right. So I think that they couldn't find somebody to do the deed, so they just had to do the deed themselves, right? So now old Red thinks he has enough evidence. He goes and finds these two guys, hooks them up, and throws them in jail, right? Now he's tasked with trying to get a jury selection out of Somerville County. Well, I mean, Somerville County and Glenrose is nothing but moonshiners and moonshiners families.
Yeah. So I live in a small town now, and I remember it takes them forever to get a jury here, let alone back then in small towns.
Right. Because everybody knows everybody. Everybody's everybody's friend.
Yep.
Right. Or that's my cousin, or that's my sister's boyfriend. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
everybody's linked together. I mean, we're not talking about a major metropolitan area like we see nowadays. This ain't Atlanta. This is a small town Texas, in the 1919s, 1920s. So old Red tries to go out for jury selection and gets grand jury. Grand jury fails to indict. They're like, we're not bringing them up on charges. It was like 12-3 or something, like 9-3 or something like that, right? Because you need 12. 9 people said nope. So he goes out again. Nope. Doesn't happen the second time, right? So after the second time, what happens is old Red is pissed. He's mad as hell. So he goes to the federal government and says, hey, I want you to bring up these two guys up on charges of killing a federal witness. All right. This guy was paid federally from the Anti-Saloon League. He's a witness. Help me out. Well, then the federal government says no. All that stuff you're doing is the Dean Act. It's all the state stuff.
Oh yeah, because the governor decided to charge him with the Dean Act.
Exactly, because the
governor
was pissed, and it was the governor was trying to help old Red out to go and get the convictions on these two guys, right? So he says, well, we'll charge them on the federal level. And then he gets there and the federal government says, no, dude, that's a state thing, bro. Yeah, that's y'all's mess. Y'all deal with it. They don't want to throw any money at it. They don't want to throw nothing at it. So essentially what happens is these two guys, there's not anybody that's going to indict them. And there's not any witnesses. So they get let go. Like, you can't hold people forever.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to charge them. So these two dudes, sons of the doctors, are pretty much able to walk free, right? And this is going to set the tone for the rest of the story. Now, in 1920, the governor, Pat Neff, is voted out. We have a new governor coming in. All right. And that governor is named Ma Ferguson. And it is female. She's awesome. Governor Ma Ferguson is not for the prohibition effort.
The Texas governors that we know nowadays.
She set the tone, didn't she?
Yeah, there you go.
Isn't it? Dude, she was a badass. All right. And she's like, nah, to hell with prohibition and to hell with anything that's happened with it. And I don't care. We are the state of freedom. You're going to do what you want and we're going to back you up for it. So what's she do? She comes in and says that with the stroke of her pen, pardons every single person that was hooked up in the Glenrose Moonshine Raid and is serving time currently. She lets them all go.
That's what I'm talking about.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
That's the Texas I know, right there.
That's it right there, dude. And so I'm conflicted on this one. Because minus a guy losing his life, which should never happen.
Yeah.
Right. But to see a win for moonshiners, it's kind of like, like I said, I'm conflicted. So I don't know how to feel about it. And the pretty much the dudes that got away with killing what is at that time a police officer. He's a narc, but he's a police officer. I don't know, man. I don't know how to feel.
Yeah, it's just a different time back then too. And I guess, there's 1,000 ways to look at that. But yeah, Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
But
It should have never came to that, but also have to sit here and you know, celebrate a little win for the moonshine world.
hell yeah,
I mean, we have to.
hell yeah, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit.
Yeah.
I I think about this story, and after I read this book, and man, I really do think that people don't realize how widespread moonshining was in this country and how far reaching it went. And it went way beyond the hills of Appalachia.
Oh, and it probably went, I mean, places and stories that you will never hear, and that are never going to be in a history book, never going to be a
Right.
book written about them. I mean, it's just, that's just how it was. You just
They're
kept
never
it
going to be
yourself.
told because they were
Yeah.
never written down, right? Man, and I really do think that people think that moonshine is relegated to Appalachia and Appalachia only. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, that's the birthplace of, well, I wouldn't say birthplace because I think it was a countrywide thing. But man, you guys, Appalachia owns the notoriety. They hold on to most of it.
Well, and I think it was a little bit harder to catch too. There was a whole lot of rough terrain that these mountain men, so to speak, knew like the back of their
Absolutely.
hand.
Absolutely. But man, it was far reaching. Prohibition doesn't work. We've tried it. Didn't work out. People got killed over it. You know, we
Yeah,
had
think about that.
the Al Capones of America, and it's
Yeah.
brutal.
Think about some of the things that wouldn't have happened if prohibition would have never happened.
I don't know, man.
The great United States experiment.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That's interesting. I would have never thought out of Texas that a story like that would, you know what I mean? Because you don't think Texas when you think moonshine.
Oh, I don't. I live here, and I don't think Texas when I think moonshine at all. None at all, man. Appalachia owns it, so
They ought to create a movie after that.
they could.
Oh,
They
yeah,
could easily. That's cinema,
definitely.
you know.
Definitely, dude.
Yeah, I'll drink to that.
Me too. And guess what?
You empty?
I am empty.
Well, guys, that there is the first of the moonshine history, the Glenrose Moonshine Raids in Texas. If you guys want to read about it, the book is The Glenrose Moonshine Raid. It's written by Martin Brown, forward by W.C. Jameson. Jameson should be easy to remember since Jameson whiskey. But there's also on YouTube, if you look up the Glenrose Moonshine Raid, there is a lecture about it by Martin Brown, who is still currently alive, guys. I mean, this guy's not dead and gone. Like I said, he was a Dallas police officer, moved to Glenrose and wrote this book. And dude, it's the thing that movies are made of.
See, that's cool to me that it was written by a police officer there too.
Yeah, absolutely. So y'all
Very
want to
cool,
check
brother.
it out, man. Go look it up.
Thanks for sharing it with me. That was super interesting.
Absolutely. Y'all have a good one. Catch us on the next one.
See you guys.
That shit was much better.